Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the 50 best horror movies ever and then talk about them. My name is Luke Condor with a Kate, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Ben Errington.
And our semi-regular co-host, Mr.
Oh no, Andy Conduit Turner. Hello.
How's it going, dude? You alright?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Thanks.
You guys?
Not too bad, nice and warm. Nice
Very
and
well.
sweaty. Nice
Toasty.
and oily. Yeah.
Oily.
Yeah.
You applied baby oil from head to toe, especially for the episode, Luke.
I have, yeah. I need to get some talcum powder for the wet spots.
Talc.
Yeah, so if you've not listened to the show before, we watch horror movies and we talk about them. We've been doing a list. Empire Magazine put together a list, and we're going through it. We're right near the end now. We're on number 4, which is going to be a big one. But before this big one, has anyone done any little ones?
Has any popped any little ones out? I haven't seen all that much this week. I did, in honour of last week's Halloween, I did sort of make a promise to myself to watch some of the other Halloween films, but I only made it through one, which was Halloween H2O.
I thought you were going to say Halloween, as in the time you watched it.
Yeah. But I only made it through one, which was the film we watched last week, Halloween. Yeah, so I watched Halloween H2O, the 20 years later. This is weird, because I remember this film coming out. It's 20 years later. It's already 20 years since that one.
Oh jeez.
Halloween H40 is like got to be next.
Yeah, so that's
It's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm confused by the whole title of this film. It's called Halloween H2O, 20 years later. But 20 years later is the tagline. What would the H2O bit? Why don't you just call it Halloween 20 years later or Halloween
20? I suppose you have to, because you can't call it Halloween 20, because there's been 19 other Halloweens.
I guess
you can't
so.
call it 20 years later, just Halloween 20 years later, because that's a bit of a lame name.
Yeah.
20 years later, what's that got to? And you can't call it Halloween H2O. Well, they did, but you shouldn't have done.
But I don't like it when they call it H2O because it's not water, but it is.
No.
Yeah.
If this film happened like on a boat or like somewhere a lake, that's a bit Friday the 13th. But if it happened on a boat or something, I can understand what's called H2O. Probably even that's stupid. This film has
Like
not
they did
aged well at all.
like a Jaws sort of thing, but with Michael Myers, and you just see his knife.
Oh, you could have done a great shark crossover there, couldn't you? Because it's got Mr. Cool James in it from Deep Blue Sea.
Oh my god, underutilized, may I add, in this film. This film has aged terribly. This is one of my favorite slasher films, like in that era, the post Scream sort of late 90s slashers. I remember I was watching this film loads, but when I watched it back, I was annoyed by it. It was so annoying. There's so many of those fake jump scares, like every 2.5 minutes. The amount of times Jamie Lee Curtis gets scared by A, her own shadow, B, her own husband, C, her own son. What life is she living? Just end it all. There's no point.
You're gonna put bells on your family like cats, so you can hear them coming.
It's just awful. There's no plot. There's no tension. There's no genuine gore or genuine. There's maybe one kind of cool moment. Apart from that, it was naff. It was real naff, and I remember it being good. So I'm annoyed at myself from 20 years ago for going, yeah, she's good.
Have any of the sequels been particularly well received?
Well, I don't. The one that came after this, Halloween Resurrection, I don't remember anything about it. I know Andy, you mentioned it last week.
Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes, yeah.
I've seen
Rhymes
that when I was young, and even then I was like, this is
no
weak.
good.
Yeah.
This is weak as balls. Can I also make one more point before we move away from Halloween H2O?
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett is in this, in which I think is his first Hollywood role. Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously. Jamie Lee Curtis and Josh Hartnett have got exactly the same haircut, and Michael Myers. Michael Myers has also got that haircut, or obviously it's some sort of wig mask thing.
Yeah.
But what's going on? It's like the pixie chop, like in 1998. I was just like, all right, we get that they're mother and son, Jamie Lee Curtis and Josh Hartnett. We don't need them to have the same haircut, so that confirms that for us. Are they related? Well, they have got the same haircut,
It's
so
weird,
clearly they are.
People see my mum, and they go, that can't be your mum. She's got hair.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett's got this weird bit of hair sticking up, though. I just want to go and go. Oh, you've got a bit there. Just flatten that bit out.
He's always got that. That's why he's not in Hollywood anymore. They were he was confused. That was just creative. He's really dug his heels in and kept his little fluffy hair thing sticking up there. He was like, no, this is my character. This is how people recognise me. They say you've got to have a good silhouette for people to recognise you in Hollywood. And he's like, it's my fucking crown thing.
Well, if you saw Michael Myers, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Josh Hartnett silhouettes, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Even though Michael Myers
are related as well, because he's related to him too.
Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah,
the family resemblance.
It's just ridiculous. Oh yeah, and going back to LL Cool J as well. He is underutilized. He's in his character is always on the phone to his significant other, and it's just real weird. I didn't appreciate what they did with him. I think they screwed him over for this film. Michelle Williams is in it as well, and also the kid from Jumanji, as in Alan Parrish, the kid.
Oh. Okay.
And yeah, and he says something incredibly sexual, and I go, "You're 12 years old. How dare you say that?" But he's not supposed to. He's supposed to be 18 or something. He says something about having an orgy, and I just imagine him getting sucked into a board game.
Yeah, you get sucked into. You chop off and sucked into a board game.
Not sucked off. He got sucked off into a board game.
Yeah. Well, I might miss that one, but I do plan on watching Halloween 3 again at some point.
Yeah, 3 you've got to watch. It's the little song is the best part of it. The little jingle on the TV all the time.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen that, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, H2O I might give it a miss. What about you, Andy? Have you done any small ones this week?
Not so much little horror movie guffs, but I've been reading a few horror comics recently.
Oh, right.
And picking up a few bits and bobs. One I've been reading is a fairly new one. I think issue 3, maybe 4 is out now on Comixology. It's called Infidel. It's an image book, and it is about a sort of young Muslim lady living in New York City with her. They've had to move in with her partner's mother while they've moved to the city. He has a daughter from a previous relationship, and it's about their relationship and things that are going on. There's some prejudice on her mother's side that she deals with in that life as well, but then also she starts seeing these weird, really horrifically drawn looking spirits and spectres that maliciously pursue her every night, and it's a lot based on, is she losing her mind? Is this actually something sinister and there's ghosts going on? It's really quite scary. It's been really, really good. And then I also read something called The Last Hunt, which has some... The colorist on that is the artist from one of the stories in our book, and that's how I found it. And it's about sort of a sci-fi meets horror thing. It's about some sort of space travelers and salvagers. They land on Earth to pick up some supplies, and they encounter. Well, they turn out they land in what was Salem, and they meet some characters there when they land. But some really good horror elements about that as well. There's an element of Alien to it. There's bits of Event Horizon that reminds me of it as well. Really, really good. It's a short series as well, so a good little pickup.
Cool. I don't read enough horror comics at all, really. I think the last one that I can think was Witches, which is the Scott Snyder. Yeah. It's got a really crazy sort of art style.
I think that's the same with me actually. But I think, did Volume 2 get confirmed? Possibly.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I've only read Volume 1, and I'm pretty sure they've gone on from where I got to.
I'm gonna have to pick that up. It sounds good.
It is good. Yeah. There's another one, Harrow County. I see sort of thrown around. It's a bit of a modern day slasher sort of thing. There's a few I need to pick up, but I just never got around to. But in terms of horror comics, like manga, I think Junji Ito. Have you read any Junji Ito stuff, Andy?
I'm aware of it, but I haven't actually sat down and read any.
Yeah, the way it's kind of bizarre sort of horror, but it's the way it's drawn. I think these sort of horror comics, because you can't jump scare, you kind of have to scare people with the believability of the illustrations of the dark things. Yeah, but it's one to check out. Yeah,
I think that's why horror comics are so good, because you can't rely on a jump scare. Cause it's not as if you're going to be turning a page and be like, it's just a cat.
It's just a mirrored page. Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Just do some pop-ups.
Yeah. Babadook style.
You should just a mirrored page. The concept of that. It's me.
Yeah. You can have like a noise, like a sting, like birthday cards that they play a thing when you open them. I was thinking less comical, more like a
scream.
Sort of, yeah.
Or an actual sting. You could sellotape a bee into one of the pages, so when you open it, comes springing out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Lots of options.
You can
Hot
freeze
steam
these.
in your face.
Yeah.
Yes. Or 4D comic.
Yeah.
What was a while ago? I have to find it. I can't remember what it's called, but it was one of those little viral manga digital comics where, like a webcomic, you sort of read through it.
Yeah.
And then do you remember what it's called?
I don't remember, but it was like somebody walking home at night, being like pursued by something.
Yeah.
And as you scrolled through, sometimes it would like suddenly animate.
And with
So if you had-
noise, yeah. I remember.
I know what it is, but I can't think of its name.
I hate stuff like that.
That was one of the scariest, like one of the biggest jump scares, because it's like you don't expect it from a webcomic.
There was a time I went for a period of time where I wouldn't watch a video on my phone or on the computer without thinking it was some sort of jump scare. Watch this video now. I'll watch it from across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, on mute.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on? Oh, it's not a jump scare. I'll watch it properly now.
Yeah, it used to be that constant thing where it'd be anything. It would be like before Rick rolling was a thing. It was the Rick roll where you'd playing a little online game or something, and the screaming face would pop up.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to feel that terrified.
Yeah.
Nobody. I want to feel mildly terrified at my own pace.
Yeah.
And I can switch it off if I want to. I don't want to suddenly just be terrified. I feel like I might have an actual heart attack as well when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. Speaking of being terrified, I've been playing. I was telling Andy before the show, Outlast. Have you played Outlast, Ben?
I've not actually played it, but I have seen plenty of it. I think I've seen a couple of sort of Twitch streams.
It's similar to Resident Evil in fact it's first person sort of horror survival game. You can't. You're like a reporter and you're going through this mental asylum where the inmates have taken over basically, and the cool thing about the game, the way it sort of really gets to you, is that you can't really ever stop, for one, because the only way you can see most of the game is through your camera. You've got like a night vision mode and your batteries deplete like really quick, so you have to constantly move forward. You can't like take a breather. There's no downtime. There's no sort of save spots or anything. Resident Evil 7, like this nice music sort of comes on when you know you're
safe room.
Yeah.
Save room music. I could listen to that on repeat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that someone screaming? What's that?
It's one of my dogs is screaming. I imagine that Karen's done something like gone into the other room, so he's having a howl.
Yeah.
How dare you go in the other room?
It's like I'm alone. What's going on?
And it's so you constantly sort of push forward, and you don't have any weapons, so there's no way to fight back. And you'll be walking through somewhere in a sewer or something, and you'll just see through your night vision like two eyes sort of reflecting back, like a cat's eye sort of thing. And then instantly the music will change, and you've just got to run away. You've got to run away, and they'll follow you. You can hide under the beds and stuff, and they'll look under the beds, and you just got to. Oh. It's the most.
You can't fight back at all.
No. You can run a little bit faster than the other guys, but there's points where you're out of battery in your camera and you're just sort of walking around. You can see an inch in front of your face, and you can hear people just walking past you, and these like insane people. Yeah, it's like full of jump scares, but it's kind of like a thrill ride, sort of fun.
What are you playing that on?
PS4.
All right, and you said it was a $5 at the moment.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
Worth picking up.
Yeah. The graphics dated a little bit now. It came out in 2013, so it's not quite got the polish that sort of Resi 7 has, but it still gets you. It still gets you in the right spot.
See, I've got it, but I haven't quite recovered from Alien Isolation yet, so I'm going to have to play it.
I want to play. Yeah.
Oh, that is so. I got through it, and usually maybe I don't have much time to play a game, but then when I do, maybe I'll put a day aside and I'll blitz something. But I had to really pace myself with Alien Isolation. I couldn't really do more than a chapter a sitting, because it's so stressful. Stressful to get through.
What is it about? It's just because it's the alien that's coming after you?
Yeah, it's chasing after you, and then if you've got all the little bits, I was playing it on the Xbox, and the Kinect had another couple of features as well. So if you're hiding, you could lean your head in real time, and the camera on your Xbox would watch you, and it'd let you lean out by moving your head.
Yeah. And
the microphone would listen for ambient sounds in your room as well. So Ricky, who you heard howling just then, he gave me away when I was hiding in a locker. He was barking. I was like, "You idiot! Shut up! You're gonna get killed!
Shut up!
Yeah.
Shut up!"
I want to give that one a go. There's a few horror games. Obviously, there's Outlast 2 as well.
Luke, I've got Alien Isolation. If you would like to.
Have you? Interesting. It's still super expensive, that one. So I wasn't going to be able to get it anytime. Yeah, it's like 35 quid or something.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I feel the same with Dead Space. Like the Dead Space trilogy used to get me like that. It was just like that sort of confined spaces in space that like sort of really got to me. Yeah,
Dead Space is terrifying.
Didn't like it. Yeah. Horrible.
Cool. Speaking of things that sort of morph and like whatever they do on Dead Space, let's go on with the film of the week. Let's talk about The Thing. Did you want to give us a bit of information, Ben?
Why, yes. Okay, so The Thing is a 1982 American science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter and written by Bill Lancaster, based on the 1938 John W. Campbell Jr. novella Who Goes There? Tells the story of a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encountered The Thing, a parasitic extraterrestrial life form that assimilates and then imitates other organisms.
Cool.
Yes, so it is a remake of The Thing from Another World. Well, another adaptation of that novel.
Yeah.
It's an adaptation of 1951's The Thing from Another World.
Here's what Empire Magazine would say. Who can you trust? And when you rely on other people to survive, what does that do to the paranoia levels? That's the key to John Carpenter's chilly thriller set at a remote Antarctic research station. Another worldly discovery brings blood, guts, body horror and twisty storytelling, all anchored by Kurt Russell's charisma and Rob Bottin's exemplary effects work. It'll make you itch with suspicion and recoil at the more gruesome scenes. The Thing deserved a fairer shot on release. Thank goodness it has long since earned cult status. 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, not particularly high. 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, which is up there really. In the Facebook group, Tommy Draper said, "It's a total fave, not sure how old I was when I first saw it. I know I wasn't old enough, but I've loved it ever since." Dan Butcher simply says, "A masterpiece." And a certain Andy Conduit Turner said, "There's very few movies that match the fear and paranoia of The Thing. A personal favourite." This is like everyone's personal favourite. Everyone I know will go like The Thing is one of my favourite horror films.
I think it's one of my favourite films.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ruining the review now by just going. Andy said that in the group. I mean, you might as well just leave the podcast now. Yeah. I'll just say it's one of my favourites ever. I'll leave as well. We'll just have Luke with his faults alone. Yeah. Slowly morphing into Luke Condor thing.
Yeah. But you say it's one of your favourite films ever. I mean, when did that happen? Like, do you remember watching the first time? What made it become one of your favourite films?
It wasn't my. It was just one of those films that I kept returning to as like the prime example of like the most raw, intense, visceral horror that like you can. I mean, I feel the same with like The Fly, where like what you're seeing, just you know what I mean. It's just like little to no CGI. Well, as far as I'm aware, no CGI with the actual creature effects. And it just feels like it almost leaps out of the screen at you, where you're just like, that looks so real that you can almost feel like you can reach in and touch it. You can like smell it. You can like it's just sensory overload, and it's just something like that. It's just pure horror for me, and I think it has been since I first saw it. Now I remember we had the VHS in my house for years, and I always used to look at it or sort of question it. And my mum would always used to say, "Oh no, we can't watch that in this house because your dad's terrified of it." Which obviously, curiosity. Yeah. And I'm not sure how old I was when I first saw it. Like I wasn't like majorly young, but I mean I wasn't old enough to see it. I watched it and I remember thinking like my stomach kept flipping over when I was watching it. Like every single new sort of reveal, it was just my stomach's flipping over, and I was like confused by it because like even though I kind of understood the plot, I was just confused by what I was seeing because it was just it's so extreme. It's like it is body horror, but body horror to the extreme. Like there's body horror.
Best body horror film like ever. I think because just the way that like I still remember just watching over my dad's shoulder and seeing the spider head thing like that has stayed with me for just that one image stayed with me for years before I even watched a horror movie again.
I think the sound design is like up there as well. Not just like the soundtrack but just the sound effects of the aliens. Sometimes like the really subtle sound moments that like everything's kind of like flamethrowers, whoosh, like alien. It's all so intense. It's just like I think that's the best way that I can describe it. It is like a sort of sensory overload that there's not much downtime.
Yeah.
Once it gets going, like it really does get going.
Yeah. What about you, Andy? Do you remember the first time you watched it?
I remember some of the early times I watched it. I probably came to it slightly later than Ben did. I think I became aware of it when I was maybe in my later teens, perhaps triggered by the Xbox game coming out, which serves as sort of a sequel. That was coming out, and I ended up picking up the film off the back of that, and it might not have been the first time I watched it, but I think one memorable time I watched it was New Year's Eve, and me and my friend Tom watched it before we went out for New Year, and we'd made vodka jelly, but had put too much vodka in it, so it wasn't going to freeze. We put it in the freezer. So I just remember sitting at my friend Tom's house eating icy, like a bowl of sort of ice-ridden, really vodka-y tasting red slime, watching the thing.
Yeah. Is it in a little petri dish as well?
It was.
With your name on it.
Little tiny dishes.
Yeah.
With your name on it, yeah. That must have been good because, like, obviously, ice everywhere. You know.
It was very thematic. Now I think back at it, if only we'd done that on purpose. But this became. I know, Luke, you were telling the story about Evil Dead, and that was the film you always used to watch when you came in from a night out a few weeks ago. That became similar to me. Like quite often when I was at uni, just after this period, we'd be if you had a day that you weren't going in, or you'd got back after a half day back home or what have you, a couple of us would just sit and we'd put the thing on while we like just messed about the house. That was a standard. Have it on all the time, and then other friends who hadn't seen it, that was the film. Oh, you're into horror movies, aren't you? Okay, I've got one for you to watch. Come and watch the thing, and that was the one we'd put on.
It's a great film to introduce to people. And if people seem like they don't want to see it, they're like, nah, I don't like the sound of that, or, oh, it sounds a bit scary for me. You can just cherry pick certain moments and just show them those moments. And most of the time it piques their interest. So like, what the hell is that? Like, obviously there's 2 or 3 really intense scenes or like really horrible moments that you can just show that to someone. I love showing it to people who say, oh, I don't like horror films. Or, oh no, I can't watch any horror films. Scare the pants off me. I'll just go, well, have a look at this. Get your gums around this. Oh, God. I remember that game as well, though, Andy. So you said on the Xbox, the
original Xbox,
original Xbox. Yeah, I had it on PS2, and I picked it up fairly recently as well, probably about a year ago. Unfortunately, like it hasn't aged too well. It was a bit clunky, but it's sort of like an immediate sequel to the event.
Straight out, it's basically like a rescue team, right?
Yeah.
How about have either of you guys seen the original or read the book?
Who Goes There?
Yeah.
No, never read it.
No.
I've read Who Goes There, but not seen I've not seen the original, like the thing from another world.
Yeah.
No. I've read Who Goes There. I've got it. It's in like it's only a short story. It's in like a little collection.
Does it have like? And then the guy's head turned into a spider.
No, it's the book. As far as I remember, it was so long ago that I read it now. I don't think a lot of that visceral horror comes from the story. Like a lot of the paranoia is in it.
Yeah.
And there is certainly a body that they find something in the ice, and they dig it out and it's defrosting, and then strange things start to happen, and they start to get the paranoia is the main thing about it. As far as I remember, a lot of the body horror and the sort of real visceral terrifying imagery that isn't really in that first book. I'll go back and read it now and find out that I just forgotten. But that's as far as I remember. It's very good.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to read it. What about you, Luke? When was the first time you saw
I don't even know. It's kind of been an ever-present thing in my life. I don't think I watched it the entire way through till I was like maybe 18, 19 or something. But I just remember seeing certain scenes, like the spider head for one, and also we'll go into a bit more detail. But the dogs, that scene has haunted me because it's just so gruesome and so horrible to the poor innocent dogs. But yeah, I don't remember it, but I always remember thinking that it's my sweet spot. It was when I was growing up, sci-fi and horror, the way they sort of mixed, or like sci-fi genre movies in general, which were a bit darker, like RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Total Recall, anything that sort of had a sort of brutality to it that was sci-fi based. That's what I really loved growing up, and it's still like now. So this and Alien as well. So this and Predator 2, just love those sort of films. So this was made for me really.
Was it made for you?
It was, yeah.
Did you see the bit in the credits, Ben?
Yeah. For Luke Gondo.
Yeah. So when the film came out, it wasn't. It was slated.
No.
It
didn't do very well at the box office either, did it?
Yeah, people hated it. I was reading today, like there's a little bit with John Carpenter saying like people hated the movie.
Yeah, it seems so sad as well because John Carpenter, when I saw an interview with him before it came out, and he seemed kind of excited. He thought he got it in the bag. And we've done a good one, guys. Just wait, you'll like it, sort of thing. But
just wait a few years.
So here's the New York Times described the film as foolish, depressing, with its actors used merely as props to be hacked, slashed, disemboweled, and decapitated, finally to be eaten and then regurgitated. It's too phony to be disgusting. It qualifies only as instant junk. Roger Ebert said it's a great bath bag movie, but said the men are just setups for an attack by the Thing. Science fiction magazine Starlog, a big critic over there called Alan Spencer, he wrote, John Carpenter's The Thing smells pretty bad. It has no pace, sloppy continuity, zero humour, bland characters on top of being totally devoid of either warmth or humanity. It's my contention that John Carpenter was never meant to direct a science fiction horror movie. Here's something to be better suited to direct: traffic accidents, train wrecks, and public floggings.
Jesus.
John
Egg on your face, mate.
The fact that somebody said the Thing eats people and then regurgitates them, like, was he paying attention? Was he paying attention? Like, clearly he wasn't.
John Carpenter it just says his initial reaction to the reviews was, I was pretty stunned by it. I made a really grueling, dark film, but I thought audiences wanted to see that. Maybe, well, it came out at the same time as E.T., so maybe people were like, we've already had one Alien film.
Yeah.
Can't have two.
Yeah. Can't have two.
I'd like to see the crossover between the two. But
oh my god, E.T. would be absolutely awful. What's E.T.'s alien race called?
Oh, extraterrestrials. I don't know.
The phonomes.
Phonomes. Just little weird dog shit people.
Dog shit people.
Piece of dog shit, isn't it? Stood up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I don't understand that critical reaction, but I think that was maybe the zeitgeist at the time. And then we watch it now. It's like, how could anyone even think it was poorly made? For me, like, it almost fell into the category of like a bit of a video nasty growing up, because it was like the thing I used to watch it for initially was the shock factor and the like really gruesome, horrible moments. But I think as I got older and I saw it more and more, like the more I could sort of really appreciate just that tension, just the paranoia, just like the relationships between everybody, because everybody's got like a different role to play within that group dynamic, and it's good. And it's just great to see like how everybody turns on each other, the alliances they make, and how quickly those alliances are completely like obliterated. It is just a really good, like, the fact that somebody there has said that every character here is just there for the Thing to basically assimilate, or sorry, for the Thing to eat and then regurgitate. Look, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because you as the audience, you're along with the characters. You don't know who's who. You don't know who's been alienized. Yeah,
that's not weird. Like, you don't. So if you just saw each person going off quietly by themselves and getting picked off one by one, obviously you see that a couple of times. But the fact that you don't see that happen, and a lot of the sort of moments when people become the Thing or the Thing becomes these people happens off screen. Surely that's
part of the effectiveness of the film. And I think you could say, like, I guess for the size of the setting that they're in, there's probably a bigger number of characters in that same confined spaces that you would have in other films. But that is part of it. Like, I think part of the effectiveness of the film is, for you as a viewer, it's hard to keep up with who everyone is.
Yeah.
And who you really trust, and how the dynamic between those people is meant to work.
Yeah.
You're kind of right there with McCready, especially when he gives his speech where he says, "I know I'm human, but if all of you were the Things, you'd have me right now." So
Yeah.
it means some of you are human. Like, you're with him there, and then when you see, obviously we'll get into it, but when you see his clothing, you're like, oh no, but I thought he was all right. Oh, there's clothing, and you're kind of a bit like, he's been set up. You're kind of there. You're there in that confusion, and it's just great. I think not only is there like a horrible alien force out to absolutely destroy everybody involved, but just that paranoia there where you don't know who to trust, and that it's just a really good sort of a really good balance, and it just helps that horror along, I think.
I was just really looking through the key players, and I was just thinking, it is a massive cast list. So I wonder if the reason people didn't relate to any of the characters on those first viewings and just thought they were just like food, fodder to be eaten and whatever, was because there's just so many. But when we've seen it over the years on repeated viewings, we now know the characters quite well. But it's like 12 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 people. And we don't really get to spend that much time with many of them.
All blokes as well.
All blokes,
yeah. All bloody blokes. It's a right sausage fest, this movie, isn't it?
So, I don't know how to do the cast. I think if we just mention that Kurt Russell is MacReady. T.K. Carter played Knowles, who... In fact, I don't know how to do this. Should we just mention them as we go through, because there's just so many people here?
Yeah, I think you've got two main players, haven't you, really? You've got Kurt Russell as your MacReady, and then you've got Keith David as Childs, who's obviously in a lot of other films of the same genre.
Yeah. Maybe we'll mention a few of them by like, the role they play as well, because obviously we've got like a physician, there's a biologist, dog handler,
radio man,
chef,
radio man. Yeah, exactly. So obviously there's a lot of names to sort of follow. So maybe if we try and bring in, I mean, no, we're not sort to be defined by our career, but in this instance,
just their jobs, because it's very difficult to describe them. As you say, it's a man. He may or may not have a beard.
Yeah, he's one of the black ones. He's one of the white ones.
Yeah,
he's got like he's got a shirt on and a hat.
Yeah, some of them have accessories, like hat or glasses.
There's a lot of amazing fashion in this film. That like even like MacReady, the amount of things. Sometimes he's got things on his head.
Yeah,
like he's wearing a cowboy hat like the wrong way around at one point. He's got like a hoodie with like goggles over. I just love it.
He has the most outfit changes.
Yeah.
So the film opens with the title, and then we get a pretty famous opening, I think, in the vast snow. We've got a helicopter coming over the mountains, and then we see that they're chasing a dog. This dog will become a bigger role later on, but the dog's running away, and they're sort of shooting at it, and not just shooting at it, but they're sort of trying to blow it up. So it seems like almost overkill.
They really ate that dog.
Yeah.
Is this before or after the bit? There's like a random little shot of an alien spaceship flying through space, isn't there?
Very, very first shot.
The very beginning, just before the title. So we see like an alien spaceship flying through space, and then looks like it's heading towards Earth, we don't see like a crash landing or anything like that.
Yeah. So and then the title credits, and then we've got the dog running away, and then we're introduced sort of to Outpost. Is it Outpost 31? So I think we get a quick view of some of the people. We've got MacReady, obviously.
Breaking a computer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's playing chess with a computer, and he's drinking his whiskey or whatever. He's losing, and then he calls it a cheeky bitch, and then throws. I think it's a cheating bitch, but I was like,
cheating bitch. Cheeky bitch. Pour me whiskey.
He's ruined that. I just thought he's ruined that for everyone else. I bet there's other people in that like playing that game, and they're going to come along and they go, "Oh, have a lovely game of chess." Start playing it, ruined. MacReady,
also,
selfish.
It's not as if you can nip down the shops in Antarctica and get another one. That's broken forever.
I think MacReady does that to everything and everyone that he disagrees with. Just throws whiskey in their face.
Pours whiskey in them.
Yeah.
In them. Open your little hatch. It's going in.
Cheeky bitch.
Yeah. So then the helicopter and the dog sort of starts to run towards Outpost 31. They're looking at this dog and thinking, "What's that bloody dog done to these bastards?"
What's that dog done? Which one of them? Whose food has he eaten? Also, like that dog at some point is going pretty slow. Who's the marksman involved here? Like not being able to pick off that dog.
Yeah.
I think you just land the helicopter quite far in front of the dog, get out.
But then it would run the other way. Maybe. I don't know.
Or
Yeah,
just
maybe.
take, like, it's not going anywhere. You've got all of Antarctica. Just aim really, really carefully instead of blazing away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
But, I mean, so they are, like, throwing grenades or something as well, aren't they? That sort of
Yeah, they've got,
Yeah,
like,
they're thermite grenades, I think. They mentioned that those super, super hot ones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They throw one grenade at one point, at least like a mile away from the dog. Oh, bloody missed!
So they didn't shout, catch it, fetch. He would have got it
Fetch!
then.
Oh,
Yeah.
he would have.
So our guys at Outpost 31 are looking at this sort of chaos, and then they look like Norwegians. I think maybe they see their faces and they're like, yeah.
I think they read it on the side of the helicopter, and he's like, "Oh, what's that Nor?" And then Childs, he's been revising his country acronyms. Like, "Oh, it's bloody Norway, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And then off they all go outside to watch it.
Yeah.
To watch it. Yeah, they're all going outside. It's the most excitement they've had in a while. They've been there a while. They're like, Jesus.
Yeah, chess computers bust.
Yeah. They're all gathered around
For some
it earlier.
reason, nobody knows what's happened to it. It's crashed. Yeah.
McCready just turns his cowboy hat 180 degrees on his head. Whoa, was it me?
Yeah.
And then, so the helicopter lands. The dog sort of runs towards everyone at Outpost 31. Jumps up on one of the guys as if to say, "Help me!"
Yeah.
These
Gives him
crazy
like a lick
Norwegian
on the
guys.
ear.
Yeah. And these Norwegian guys obviously land the helicopter, and then they really want to kill this dog, so they start firing at it, shoot one of the guys, don't they?
Yeah.
And then what happened? So with the grenade at this point, he goes to throw one of the thermite grenades, and does he just kind of drop it?
He just
I think
completely
so,
fucks it, doesn't he? He just drops it in the snow, and then he dives. One guy dives to get it back, and then he obviously doesn't get to it in time, and it blows him and the helicopter up.
Yeah. I mean, Butterfingers, Jesus, be careful with these thermite grenades.
Of all the things to drop.
Whoops!
So then there's a guy called Gary. I think he's the kind of the leader of Outpost 31, who's in charge of security or something. He's the
I
commander.
think he's the boss, yeah.
The big boss, the gaffer. He does a pretty good shot. He blows the Norwegian guys in the face, kills him dead, and then we're left with.
Shame he wasn't trying to get the bloody dog, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then we're left with a sweet dog. So everybody wins.
Everybody wins. He's like, two Norwegians are dead, and we got a dog. They all high five each other.
And that chant USA as they go back in.
Yeah.
USA. Anyone fancy a game of chess? Well, no.
And then I think we got like a scene where I think it introduces people a bit more. It's later on in the day. Everyone's chilling out. There's a guy listening to Stevie Wonder. I've got him.
The cook is listening to Stevie Wonder, and the man that got shot, he gives him a shout, doesn't he? He goes, "Mate, don't play that rubbish. Don't play that, acclaimed musician. I've been shot today, so I need peace and quiet." And the guy passive aggressively goes, "Oh yeah, sure, mate, I'll turn it down." Whacks it up, and then he's dancing about the kitchen. He may be roller skating because he's sort of sliding about.
Yeah.
Either that or he's just got his socks on. He's just sliding about on the floor, the tile.
Risky business.
Oily floor, yeah. So interestingly, the song choice is "Superstitious" as well. "Superstition" by Stevie Wonder, which we just picked up on. Yeah, very superstitious. Okay, and then so what happens now? So the dog is really creepy. This dog, by the way, the way it moves around. I've never seen a dog move around like that and just keep like eyes dead forward. Even like acting dogs, they're not normally that good at playing creepy dogs.
This is the creepiest dog actor there is. They auditioned hundreds.
Quietly staring at people, and I guess this is a good bit this really comes in when you're watching it several times as well, because even after you've seen the film more than once, your suspicions of who has been got when are all bought in, and even when you're watching the film another time, it's never specifically clear when someone might have been like exposed to what's going on in the long term. But you see lots of various shots of this dog sort of sidling up to various people, don't you?
Yeah, it goes into someone's room. It's like late at night. You just see their silhouette as it ambles into their room. And then it fades to black, so you don't know who that was, but you know they're probably finged.
They're probably
They've
finged.
been thingamajigged.
What's the thing? What's the thing's thing? So the thing,
Pardon?
so the thing like sucks people in,
What?
like, and then
It
recreates.
Them, and then regurgitates. No, it swallows them, and then becomes them.
Makes a copy, but then later on, I think this is something that I've never quite got my head around. I don't think so. They point out that it will sort of eat the original and then, replace it, copy it, make itself look like that thing.
Yeah.
But then later on, they start talking about how just a couple of little cells of it could take a person over.
Yeah,
so
I thought that too.
Can it also just absorb you
from the inside out? Do you mean?
Yeah.
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 So there's not just one. It's not always just one person or one thing at any one time. It can be multiple.
It can be several bits. Yeah.
It can be several bits. Right. Okay. Yeah. Just trying to get my head around that as a.
Yeah. I don't think it's completely explained, or it is explained in like two separate ways. I think at one point. So.
Again, that's another good thing where like it's not. We're not straight up given. We don't need that explanation excessively. We kind of just get made to the basics of it.
Yeah. I think if we look at it on a film level now, this is why I think the thing and the form it's been in. Yes, there have been some pseudo sequels and a prequel and so on as well. But for me as a franchise, this is why it hasn't been, perhaps taken down a few pegs like I'd say perhaps Alien has. Whereas Alien has been explained through several prequels and they've really tried to delve into, right, let's get every ounce of origin out of this. The ambiguity that still exists within the thing, I think makes that a more appealing and scarier thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think the only thing that kind of underlines it a little bit, or undermines it, sorry, is the fact that the spaceship is quite cliche, isn't it? Almost like a flying saucer type spaceship, and you think, whatever this thing's natural form is, how's it piloting that?
Also, yeah, you are right. But also, I'm really confused as to how intelligent the thing is supposed to be, because it comes across as quite low-level animalistic in the way it sort of attacks people, or the way it's
like instinctive, yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like got this really high-tech, Close Encounters of the Third Kind sort of spaceship. Yeah,
I guess for me as well. If you think about it, I think they touch into it on one of the conversations later on as well. I said, well, it could be from anywhere, and how many planets has it already been to? Mm-hmm. That flying saucer could be from wherever it was last. It doesn't necessarily have to be the thing. It could be whatever planet it was on last. That's what it ended up looking like, and it nicked one of their spaceships and went off to space.
And they also mentioned that like it could call upon, it may have like replicated all of these different species from across the universe, and it can call upon these sort of like the genetics of it at any time. So that kind of makes me feel like, well, when these spider legs come out, or these horrible, big, great sort of
what alien form is
snake like, I mean, is that its natural form in any way, or is that just parts of other aliens that it's assimilated other worlds? Which is why the fact that there's no real distinctive look for the thing, which is what I think what makes it as creepy as that. I mean, it is a great sort of idea, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. All we know is the sort of the tentacles and the constantly moving sort of form of it. That we don't have any sort of xenomorph type shape or something to lay a hat on.
No, I mean when I think of the thing and try and visualize it, I always visualize a couple of moments in this film, which is basically just it becoming parts of other people. You don't really remember.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on a little bit. So they decide to go to where the Norwegian people came from, Norway.
Yeah.
We'll
just nip over to Norway briefly. I mean, we ain't got much on.
To Outpost 32, whoever it's.
See what their problem is.
What's that?
Let's see what their problem is. I think doesn't Gary mention that how long have those guys meant to have been out there? They can't get anyone on the radio. Windows is annoyed about that, but because they've only been out there 6 weeks or whatever the reasonably small amount of time is, they decide to go and see if they've done damage to their own base as well, if the people that must still be there need any help, right?
Yeah. It's the storm's coming in as well, so everyone's like, I don't know if we should do it, but McCready's like, don't worry, I'm the man for the job. Or I don't think he really wants to do it, but he does it anyway. He throws a bit of whiskey in the face and says, come on.
Come on.
You cheeky bitches.
At this point, McCready's although you kind of get the impression that McCready is going to be the main protagonist, I don't think he's not the leader at this point. He's sort of the outsider of the group in some ways. He even has his own shack outside from where everyone else stays. But yeah, they go over to the Norwegian's house on the hill. It's all burnt away, I think. Is that right? And then there's the burnt remains inside.
Yeah. So it's been like gutted by fire, explosions. There's like holes in the walls.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's been for a right load of shit.
Yeah.
There's like a fire axe stuck in one of the walls. Like everyone is dead. There's like barricades. And there's someone like sat in a chair, like with his wrist.
Someone with their throat and their wrist, and then obviously the blood is frozen as it's come out. Now, this, I guess there's not another time to come onto it. This is later addressed in the prequel, right? That came out a few years ago. I have never watched them in close enough proximity to see how they actually sync up, but maybe I'll do that sometime. Maybe I'll watch the new one again soon and see if all of those moments you see them set up.
It's on Amazon Prime at the minute, and it does keep popping up. I keep thinking I would like to see how it does, because I remember watching it a few years back, and it had been a couple of years since I've seen the thing since then. And I remember being kind of impressed with the ending to the prequel. I remember like thinking, oh wow, that is. It might be because I've not seen the original for so long at that point, but I remember thinking like, oh wow, that looks exactly like the original, but maybe it isn't. But I'd like to give it another go.
I really liked it. I thought it was good.
I like the prequel. It does feel a bit in places, it feels a bit like a carbon copy. It does kind of feel like that. It feels like there's a similar sort of dynamic. There's a lot of characters, and it feels like it does dig up the same ground. And obviously, some bits are quite CGI heavy, aren't they?
Yeah.
But still, I thought it was good. It was good enough as a prequel. It wasn't absolutely.
It was a nice thing. Yeah.
It was a nice thing. Yes. Yeah. Because in the original they find like a sort of hollowed out block of ice, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's there in this one as well.
Yeah. So we see that in the see that in the prequel, obviously, and then outside they find it's like one or two burned human bodies, kind of like mushed together. Yeah. And they just fit horrible, twisted.
Like
what's this horrible mess?
Yeah.
What do they look like? Sorry, Luke?
They look like the barbecue flavour. They look because there's got like a sort of brown consist. It looks like barbecue ribs or something.
You were salivating when you saw this, weren't you?
Yeah.
A horrible mushed corpse of 2, maybe even 3 people, and you're just like,
looks like the McMurder's back, baby.
Yeah. You went straight out to McDonald's.
I did, yeah.
A McThing, please.
McThing.
So they take this the burned double corpse back to the office, back to Outpost 31, and then it's what's his name, Dr. Blair, played by Wilford Brimley.
Yeah.
He has a look at it and he says, "Well, this is
a thing."
Yeah, this is a thing. Guys, this is the thing. They even call the thing a thing later on, and I was like, I guess that's what you would call it if you just didn't know what else. It's called it the alien or something. I don't know. So what did he say about it? He says it's got human organs inside, I think. Or...
Yeah, it's like a perfect set of human organs.
These are bloody perfect. Look at that.
These are spot on. Nothing wrong with that. A bit burned. But...
Yeah, tastes great. Yeah, and so... Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I think it's maybe the evening before this bit. I think it's like the morning after. But there's a couple of lights, like flash, like shooting stars type looking things, flash across the sky that look like they're supposed to be spaceships. Like,
I've never noticed that.
It must be in the cut that I don't know if there was a different cut that I'm watching, but I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I wonder if that is implying something else. I don't know. So what happens around here? So he looks at he said that this is human, but it's not.
This is human, but it's not. And then at that point, I think it's all over the table and what have you. They're all there talking about it, and I think this is the point where the dog comes in and like disturbs them, and then someone tells the man who looks after the dogs, "Go and put that dog away with the others, will you, mate?" And he says, "All right, fair enough." And he goes off to do that, which is what moves things along.
Yeah, he puts the dog in the kennel, and all the other dogs are like napping, and then this dog. The other dogs look normal. This creepy dog just stares at the wall as they sort of close the door turn off the lights, and not once does the guy say, "Oh, that's a bit strange for a dog.
Yeah.
Why is he frozen like that?"
Why? So obviously we'll get into this, but why does a dog feel the need? Because obviously it's the thing, but it's hidden nicely in a dog, and we're made to think later that all the thing really wants to do is hide. Is that right?
Hide and spread like bacteria
and spread.
Yeah.
Get away from where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So that's why it wants to.
It could just take its time and just be the dog for a while. And that's why I think it's kind of animalistic. It just seems to be acting sort of erratically, like at times. It doesn't seem. Because
surely it must know that by doing this, it's locked somewhere. It must know by doing this that it's going to put itself in danger as soon as there's like all these humans around.
Yeah, I suppose if it had if it had been a little bit smart and had the long plan, it could have been the best dog they've ever got, done loads of tricks, got back, got on Britain's Got Talent, taken over Simon Cowell.
Won Crufts.
Yeah. Taking over Simon Cowell. Tries to take over Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell's already the thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, awkward.
Yeah.
Turns out it's an even worse monster.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe that was his plan. Maybe it was like, I think I'm just going to stick with this dog, but that dog over there isn't quite as creepy as me, so I'm going to take over him. But that's where it goes wrong because he starts.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah, the dogs all growl at it, so maybe dogs can smell the thing.
Yeah, it does this. So the dog starts to shake, and then it does this horrific thing where its face blooms like a flower over its skull, and then it starts to. Like, this is tragic because as it picks the dog it's going to eat in the corner of the room, and it like jets this sort of green puke on it.
Gunge.
Yeah, and this dog's like trying to get away. It's like peeling back the fence. It's like they're really scared. Like
that was horrible. I kept thinking, I wonder how they sort of film some of this stuff because
I've got treats outside. I've got treats. Come on.
Yeah. The dogs seemed really sort of distressed, didn't they? Especially when like spraying the gunk at the dog. He's like, oh god, no, anything but this.
Yeah. And then the next time we see that dog, it's like mush, like it's just been turned to like mushy peas.
It's being eaten, isn't it?
Yeah. But while this is going on, I don't understand who realised stuff was going on here. But one of them, I think McCready, someone runs to McCready and says the dogs are playing up or something.
Yeah, I think the dog man hears them whimpering and barking, and then he goes back and sees something's going on. And he looks like he's all bloody hell, I'm not equipped to deal with this on my own.
Yeah.
So he goes and gets. I think he sets off the fire alarm.
Yeah, he sets off the fire alarm. Yeah, and the whole camp basically wake up and sort of come to the kennel and basically.
And then McCready sort of steps up and takes charge, doesn't he? And then
so McCready's got a shotgun at this point, isn't he?
Yeah, and he sort of sends one of the others back. Says, right, go and get Childs. Tell him to bring the flamethrower.
Yeah.
And Childs, for some reason, has decided to ignore the fire alarm and is still chilling in his room.
Yeah. But he does react. He reacts perfectly because I think in this film they could easily have gone get the flamethrower and he just gets it. But he reacts how someone who's been asked to get a flamethrower would react. Get the flamethrower. Get the what?
Yeah. What? Because like the fire alarm's gone off and he's like, but isn't that like the opposite of what we do?
The opposite, yeah.
My mother always said, you've got to fight fire with fire.
I don't understand why they have flamethrowers. Is that a thing that they
I guess to unfreeze things, because I guess if you're in the very cold, if like your equipment gets frozen up, it'd be a quick way to unfreeze it.
Right.
There's a flood! Get the hose! Oh god!
So when they all go into the kennels, it's completely horrific now. The dog on the floor is like melted. He's got eyes weaved into his sticks into his side, blinking. The effects work is like something like you've never seen before.
Everything looks so wet.
Everything's shuddering and shaking and glistening and popping.
It's just the noises as well. Everything's just like.
It's like an ethereal almost moan, isn't it? That it does. It's very weird.
Yeah. And then McCready's shooting at it, and before Childs eventually turns up, McCready actually shoots one of the dogs that's still alive. It's got like a tentacle around its neck.
Yeah, and the dog man is furious.
Yeah. I think he holds that grudge for later on in the film as well. Yeah. But then as Childs is flamethrowering, the dog does a thing where it sort of goes into the ceiling or something.
Yeah, there's horrible long arms come up.
Horrible hands come up, and it goes up, and then a couple of the other dogs that haven't been got sort of run past them and run away.
Yeah. So as soon as the gates open, they kind of just go like, whoa! Just like leap out, don't they?
Yeah. And then
Charles burns it up. The guys come and put it back out, and then they take it off to do another autopsy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, he says, "Oh, so it's like so." He opens it up, doesn't he? And he says, "This bit of the dog here isn't a dog." This doctor, Dr. Blair, is like he's firing or something. He's guessing. I don't know how he knows this. He's like saying how it's copying the dog. It's just assimilating him. And
You try an autopsy this thing, and you just go, "I am not qualified for this."
Yeah.
Why isn't
There's
this guy?
a load of shit here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is this guy the guy that got shipped up to Antarctica, where you probably have limited need to do autopsies, rather than like lecturing at like the Royal College of Surgeons?
Yeah.
He's been dying to do an autopsy ever since he's been there. He's like, yes, finally get a chance to do an autopsy. Oh my god, what is this?
This is the worst one.
This is the worst autopsy I've ever had to do. Jesus.
And so at some point around here, they go to the saucer in the. I'm not too sure why.
Yeah, they go out, and I think they start by looking at back when they're in the Norwegian base. The other doctor picks up all their research notes, and they pick up some videos and stuff, and I think they see where the guys have gone, and then they think, oh, okay, let's go and see what they were looking at, and they find an excavation, don't they? Do they see like the flying saucer?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you can see the outline of it.
Yeah.
And one of them even says, "How long do you think it's been here for?" And then the other guy goes,
Ages.
100,000 years.
100,000. Can't even like work. I can't even like function thinking about that length of time. He's like, it's probably been about 100,000 years.
Yeah.
Do they sort of work out from the ice? Because the depth of that ice, ages, real old.
Yeah, ages. At least 6 months or so. 100,000 years. Jesus.
They could have asked that computer that the doctor's got, because he
Oh yeah.
he runs the thing on the computer and says, "How long till the whole world has been assimilated?" It's like, I just play solitaire, mate. Well, you asking me to go 27 hours or like.
I think I looked at
27,000 hours.
Yeah, 27,000 hours. I wrote it down because originally I remember when I watched the film, I thought it was like really quick, like a couple of days. But no, it's 27,000 hours, so it's more realistic, I guess.
Apparently, it's 37 months, so just over 3 years.
Okay.
It would
it's a weird
take.
thing to ask your computer. You can't just Google that or ask Siri or something.
How is this computer built for? Like, surely there's been no study into this organism ever.
It's drunk, is what it is. It's still got a whiskey on it. Yeah. I don't know. It's got 27 hours.
Yeah, it's got like an undeserved level of confidence for any question.
It's like
I'll tell you what it is, mate.
It's like these computers that used to exist like in films and TV shows back in the day before I think people really understood computers so much. Where they just go, right, zoom in on that bit, right, now spin it round, now have a look, now increase the quality of it. There we go.
Yeah.
You just get that in the X-Files.
Yeah, like fake computers as well.
He's showing the cells, and he's like, he's saying, look at this cell. It takes over this cell, becomes it, and then creates a copy. I'm like, that's Space Invaders, mate. That's not a cell.
That's on Commodore 64. I played that.
Like, have you spent that time? Like, you could have probably solved the thing problem if you spent less time, like, rendering the graphics to be able to display that. It reminds me of the talking these magic computers. Probably a film of a similar era, right? The original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where the guy's like, I've had to calculate where I'll find a golden ticket to the same computer who was sent to Antarctica.
So I think we're coming up to the first human death of one of our guys, right? I think they're sort of messing with the original burnt body, and it starts to fall out.
They're just doing some random jobs, aren't they, in the room? And one of them has to leave, and the other guy is still in there checking the shelves or something. Yeah. Or because they're getting ready for this storm to come, aren't they? I guess so. They're getting all the things prepared, and then you see there's like the man's working away on the background, and then you see like a dripping coming off the body.
Yeah.
And then the original guy comes back in a few minutes later. So, oh, come on, we got meant to be done this job by now. And then he sees him in the corner being
covered in raspberry jam. What are you doing in the corner? It's supposed to be a stock take. No, he's in the jam.
Yeah, you've been gunged. And he goes, oh, Dave Benson Phillips has got in here, he's gunged him.
He looks like he's evolving into Mr. Blobby in that corner of the room.
He looked like he was enjoying it a bit, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh!
One of those tentacles was, up there. Behind it. Yeah.
Really hitting the spot.
Yeah. So he
runs off and gets everyone, and then when they get back, he is gone. But he's smashed himself out the window, hasn't he? And he's legging it off into the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
but he hasn't managed to finish his.
No, he's not quite done yet.
His hands are still.
He hasn't got the hands right.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to do the hands.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fingerprints.
All
those
muscles and it must take ages.
Yeah.
And then he hasn't done the tongue either because the guy turns around and goes, "Oh!" Like. Yeah.
He's got no pants on. He's just knelt down in the snow. That's what that face is. Oh!
So
it's really
the clothes as well, because aren't the clothes like bloodied up? Unless he's putting on a second pair of clothes.
Because he's got like a big E17 stain of the day jacket on, hasn't he? With like a very hood. And so
he was trying to sing that song.
Brian Harvey thing.
So
yeah, has anyone looked at Brian Harvey's
that has he got changed, or can the thing copy clothes?
Well, McCready says later on into his dictaphone or something, because helicopter pilots have dictaphones. It tears people's clothes, and which becomes a bit of a plot point later on. It tears people's clothes when it takes over them. But
and also when we see Bennings getting like finged, he looks naked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So maybe he got undressed, and then he got finged.
The thing goes, look, get undressed. I'll look away. And he gets undressed. Now I'm gonna fing you.
Now sit on my lap.
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty.
Of course,
much
the thing doesn't have a normal body structure, so when it looks away and covers its eyes, it's probably got other eyes in its elbow and stuff. Cheeky.
Winks at it.
Never trust that thing. He's a peeper.
So McCready, he kicks over a canister of apple juice. And,
Iron brew.
And all those E numbers in there go up like a tree.
He pops. And then, okay, so where are we now? So I think Dr. Blair's losing his mind at this point. He's like,
they get back. I think
2,700 hours. Have you seen that film where it scores? He starts killing dogs and stuff, right?
Yeah, so
I think
he kills the dog.
He's killed the dogs off screen, right? So I think after they get back from burning up the other man, someone else just legs it over and goes, he's gone mad. And you get in there and he is wrecking everything, isn't he?
So all the iron brew's gone.
Yeah.
So he's wrecking the computers, wrecking the radios.
Yeah.
And he's having a good old rant, isn't he, about how...
He destroyed the helicopter as well.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Broken up the helicopter.
So he's
someone
basically trying to
kill the dogs.
I mean, it's a good plot point to try and like really, really sort of get everybody trapped where they are.
Yeah,
it's good thinking. Yeah, so he's put an axe in some of the dogs. He's like, he's gone fucking ape shit.
Yeah, and in many ways, the way the rest of the film plays out, he's got the right idea, right? He knows already. He's come to terms with the fact that what the thing wants to do is get to civilization. That's what his computers told him, because it will assimilate the whole world in 2,700 hours. So it needs to remain trapped in Antarctica. So he has taken all those steps to stop it from getting away. So he's wrecked the vehicles. He's breaking their radio equipment. He's killed the dogs.
What I would say is we find out later on that he is a thing. But
is he now?
I don't know. Maybe it's when he's in the thing in the shed. Because they basically capture him now, don't they? They round him up. And they put him in the tool shed. So maybe it's at some point when he's locked in the tool shed.
Yeah, you expect that, because I think one thing I kind of understand is that when anybody shows any sort of extreme emotion, that kind of makes me think they're not a thing. Because even though the thing can kind of replicate people physically, I don't think it would have mastered and I don't think it would expose itself in that way. Like it's a very human trait, isn't it? Sort of like just anger and
it might so it might be jumping forward a bit here, but it might be later on when he's like, "I'm okay now, Mac. I want to come back inside."
Yeah,
that was kind of creepy.
I think he's the thing at that point,
right?
Yeah, but I don't think he is then. But there's obviously several times it could get him, especially when they talk about bringing his food, because they do take his bottle of Smirnoff out from his desk.
Yeah.
You see one of the others put it down for him as well. So, again, paranoia. Is there a bit of a thing in there?
Yeah.
A bit of a thing in there. This tastes like thing. Too late.
Too late. It's got now. You're the thing. You're eating yourself.
Thing cordial.
Thing cordial. I just wanted an iron brew. Why did you tip the massive canister of it over?
All my Tizer's gone.
Tizer. It's my Taz. The bloody Taz.
Who's drunk my Tizer out of the fridge?
Did he still make Tizer? I used to really like that.
That's why he went apeshit. That's why he went apeshit. It was nothing to do with the thing. It's just Tizer was.
That was the last time he made Tizer.
You used it to burner, man. You fuckers.
Yeah.
And the chess computer's broke.
So around this point, they decide they're gonna. I think McCready. No, it's not McCready. It's one of the doctors.
Yeah.
I think it's the other doctor. Says you
The
can use the blood to test.
Yeah, the doctor comes up and says, "Oh, there's a test that I've just thought of right now that would be able to test if we were the thing or not, because we've got clean blood."
Yeah.
I guess they've all given blood in case they need a transfusion at some point, right?
Yeah.
So we can get the blood and we can test it with a sample, and if it reacts, then we know that person is the ting. So
the ting. Yeah, the ting.
One of you is the ting.
I'd like to see a sequel based. It's a bit like Attack the Block. Called the ting.
Opposite climate.
Okay, so
then they get to do the test, and the blood has been.
Well, that's not just yet, is it? Because no, sorry, you are right. That blood's been like someone's been in the blood cupboard.
Yeah, and this is where this is where the paranoia really starts to hit, right? Because when the blood's been wrecked, that's when sort of accusations start going round. Because
you're the only one who had the key.
Got the
Gary.
Key, I give you the key. All the time.
Oh, Gaz.
And it's like, well, the doctor's the only one that has any business with the key. Gary's the only one that's got the key.
Yeah.
But then the doctor's like, well, it was my idea to do the test. And then someone else is like, well, that doesn't mean you wouldn't have done that. So this is when they all start getting paranoid and not trusting each other.
Yeah. So where does it go from here?
So they do the test, and then
they didn't do the test.
Oh, they don't do the
for a little while. Yeah. There's another character, Fuchs, who kind of like sees someone like he follows someone off, and he's killed.
He gets killed off screen, right?
Yeah, because he's got some ideas as well. Because I think it's Fuchs who suggests to McCready that they take more precautions, and this is where they start talking about if you just get a little dash of the thing in you, it can take you over. So we should all make our own dinners.
McCready should have been like, "You sure? That's not what the doctor said."
Yeah.
Like that's complete opposite, actually. But you've got your own ideas. That's cool.
And then he just decides to stay ages on his own, writing in his notebook about ideas about the thing.
Yeah.
And then that's when the power goes off, and then, as you say, Ben, he goes out to investigate. And then we don't see him again. We see his body, and we're left to speculate what happened to him.
Yeah, so his body's been burned. And what I'm reading here, it says it's called McCready Mac, and it says Mac tells Windows to record. Mac and Windows aren't friends, obviously. They're mortal enemies. Why are they teaming up? Yeah, so Fuchs is like burned, and they say, well, he's either killed himself or the things kind of thinged him and then burned him. That's what you kind of made to think.
After he saw the raspberry jam, he's like, I don't want to get finged. I don't want to get fingered.
I ate raspberry. I like apricot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not getting gunged. I am gonna set myself on fire instead, and that's what they find out. I guess that's the next bit, right? Isn't it? So they come in. So the lights have been off for ages. He's been on his own. Let's go find him, and they find his body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they see McCready's shack's light is on still. So he takes Knowles, I think his name is.
Yeah, so Knowles was like...
I guess there's a little bit just before they go out to this bit, though, as well, right? Because that's when they start to distrust McCready. But before that, there's been a bit of a set to where they've made Gary give up the command, and MacReady's been put in charge, right? Because
kind of like he doesn't necessarily want to be in charge, but he thinks, well, I might as well be.
Yeah, I think
you're all a load of mugs.
Yeah.
They have a confrontation with Gary. Windows goes and gets a gun and wants to, he doesn't trust anyone. They talk about Gary and the keys, which is when he gives up his gun and said, "Look, I think one of you would be better off in charge rather than me. Everyone will be more comfortable."
Gary does the honourable thing here. He sort of lets someone else take charge.
Yeah. And Childs is like, "I'll do it," but everyone's like, "Fuck you, Childs."
We need someone who hasn't got.
Someone who is a bit more even tempered. I was like, what has he done really, apart from stated disbelief about needing to get
a flamethrower.
It was MacReady that beat the shit out of that doctor. Gives him a right old pummeling when he's going mad.
Yeah. So, whilst they're out, someone finds MacReady's jumper. Whilst they're searching for Thingy's body, they find MacReady's jumper and it's torn up, right? So then so that MacReady is a thing.
So he runs off and leaves him, doesn't he? Because Knowles comes back on his own and says, "Oh, I cut his line while we were out in the snow and left him out there because he didn't see me find the clothes. Yeah. So I've stitched him right up and he's locked out. What are we going to do? We should just leave him locked out there." And some others are saying, "No, we should go out and kill him because if we know that he's the thing, we could get him." And then while they're rowing, Chilly MacReady gets back in through the window, doesn't he?
Yeah, Chilly MacReady.
Yeah.
With a lovely Captain Birdseye beard.
Yeah.
But it's like covered in dynamite, or he's got sticks of dynamite or something. So he uses that to hold people up, and then he ties up all the people who he's suspicious of.
There's a little bit before people get tied up, isn't he? Because when they're trying, he gets them to back off, otherwise he's going to dynamite them.
Yeah.
And then a couple more people come and get the jump on him, and when he pushes one of them over, poor bugger has a heart attack, doesn't he? And that sort of ends the standoff, and they all run to the lab. And sorry. Before we carry on, there's a couple of things about the thing, which I'm now going to. Well, I think we should discuss. So, not only does the thing want to assimilate people, it clearly has some level of intelligence where it knows how to turn people against each other. Mm-hmm. It knows how to create these sort of schemes that make other people untrustworthy of other people. Obviously, it's just like a survival method itself, but also when this guy has a heart attack, it's the doctor, isn't it? It's Dr. Copper. Oh no, Doctor. There's two doctors. One of the
the remaining doctor is the one who gives him the defibrillator. This guy is a random guy. I don't think he's done much of anything to this point.
Yeah,
but this guy is a thing. So what's happening here when this thing
has he copied
has a
the
heart
guy's
attack?
heart and he's got a bad heart? And
that is absolutely mental.
I think he's 100% thing, isn't he? Or he isn't. He is shortly.
Yeah, so what's happened?
So maybe
so
he
is he
hasn't
like
had a heart attack. Maybe he's ingested a bit of thing, and it's like slowly taken over his gut area.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe
or
maybe something's happened where the thing sort of replicated him, and by the thing getting pushed over, something's gone a bit wrong. Something's gone a bit and something's shifted. I don't know.
It's open for interpretation, isn't it? Because you could say, is that something that, has he genuinely collapsed, or is it the thing's plan? Yeah, I'm going to pretend to have a heart attack and be dead now, and then. Yeah.
Because MacReady's knocking about with bloody dynamite so it's like, oh god, this is getting a bit too much for me. What can I do? Time out.
Yeah.
Also, this is another interesting thing. When it assimilates people, maybe somehow it takes on character traits of them, or somehow it learns about humans that way. Because obviously, initially, how would it be able to? Obviously, it observes and then replicates in that way as well. So not only does it replicate people physically, it seems to replicate their behaviors as well in the way it tries to turn people against each other. Which, I mean, that's. Do
you think the thing is less sort of plotting and more like a trickster? Do you think
like the Loki of?
Yeah, I think when people aren't looking, he snickers in the corner.
I thought you said he eats the Snickers in the corner.
Yeah, he does that as well.
Thing, you turn into a right diva when you're hungry. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Gives a Snickers. Yeah.
Like spider legs come out and then they go back in. Yeah. So when Thingy has a heart attack, they pop him on the bench. Come on, pop him up. And then this is maybe the most famous Thing scene when they go to. It's the biggest. I think it's the only proper jump scare. Where he goes to defibrillate him, and his stomach opens up, and he goes, "This guy is full of bad bacteria. Get him some Yakult," and his arms go right through, and then it sort of eats his arms off. That's the remaining doctor who's with the group. He gets
got no arms bitten off. Yeah.
So that was a guy, amputee dude with like some sort of mock-up of the dude's face.
Oh, was it?
Like when. Yeah, so when he got his arms ripped off, I've seen it in the making of. So it was like obviously the arms are fake. He was an amputee, and he just had absolutely nuts.
And then
this is like some of the most extreme, horrible, disgusting.
And he's thrashing around, and the body mutates into all sorts, doesn't it? Because then another head of the guy who was
it's
on
the
the
same
table,
guy's head,
supposed
isn't
to
it?
be dead.
Like a duplicate of the head.
It comes
weird,
out of the chest, and it comes out, and it's looking down at them.
It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times. It's got that sort of Beetlejuice quality to it. And then the other head pops off, and the way it stretches off, it looks living, it looks real.
Yeah,
like,
and
there's
there's
popping
pustules in the neck.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it sort of creepily hides under the table while they finish burning the body.
It drags himself along, and some of the sound effects here are like really sort of like kind of like
it's kind of sci-fi, 50 sci-fi, but like an updated version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not nice.
That's a good shot. The one you mentioned, where like McCready and they're just looking at the fire, and then this spider-headed thing sort of crawls off behind him.
Yeah,
and one of the guys is like, and because it almost got away with it too, didn't it? But then it sort of stands in the doorway, and the guys are like
flamethrowers,
and they all sort of turn around. And they
go, you gotta be fucking kidding.
Yeah,
and they just burn it with fire.
Yeah.
So
that's a good impression. That's a good noise of a flamethrower. It sounds like you're opening a faucet of gas in your mouth. What's going on?
Oh, right. A
sound
spat all
like
over my laptop there.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so now after that, after they get rid of that stuff, now they do the... he ties up all the people. Clark, the dog guy, he's been around the dogs for a long time. Gary, because he was the only one with the keys.
He ties up everyone that he doesn't he captures all of them. The dog guy goes to stab McCready.
Oh yeah,
but
okay,
he shoots him. He shoots him
straight in the
dead
head.
because he won't get in the. He won't get tied to the couch, and then he just leaves himself untied and Windows, who he has at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And then he has got the theory from seeing the body of the other guy come apart and be alive as the spider head as well as himself. That every single part of this creature is individually alive. It's not like one body, one thing. Every little bit of it is its own organism, in fact. So
very clever. Yeah.
He comes up with a theory that he's going to draw their blood, and then he can test that if it doesn't have try and have an escape response, because if it's a normal man's blood, it'll just be tissue, which is not sentient. But if it's the thing, that bit of blood will try and escape. So he tests Windows first,
or if it's vodka jelly, he'd be like this. Put this in the fridge. Yeah,
put this in the freezer, and then realise years later that vodka won't freeze. You need less, not half a bottle. Yeah. But so he then tests Windows. Said, "Okay, you're fine, mate. Put a flamethrower on. You're all good."
He tests Clark, the guy he just killed, and he's not a thing.
Yeah, so then Charles gives him some shit. Oh, that makes you a murderer then, doesn't it, mate?
Gives him a bit of ribbon.
Oh, fuck's sake, I suppose it does.
Bants, mate.
Yeah.
Then he does one of the more famous lines of the film, right? And is like, I'm going to show you what I already know. And that's when he tests himself, and we know that he is human.
Yeah.
And it's a very tense scene. Like, this, for me, is the scene of the film.
Who is the guy who is the... Because he's looking at Gary, and he says, Gary, I'm going to do you next, and then
We'll do you last.
Yeah,
This is
because
we'll
I
do
think
you last,
you're the...
Gary. Yeah.
We'll do you last. Yarny's in. Kill you
Yeah.
last.
Because
it's a guy
thinks
called
it's him. Okay.
Palmer. That's the thing.
It's a guy who, yes, Palmer. It looks like one of Simon and Garfunkel. Which one? Which one's the one with curly hair? Garfunkel. He looks like Garfunkel anyway. But what I like is that when they work out that the Palmer thing is the thing by testing his blood, he's not like the last one, which I like because
that's a good point,
this scene could potentially be whoever we do last is going to end up being the thing, but it kind of like it's unexpected. So when it seems like any other character. So as soon as he puts the hot needle in the blood and it goes.
So
that's another jump scare, isn't it? That made me jump when I first saw the film.
You say this is your favourite scene, Andy? Do you mean the shaking?
This whole testing of the blood bit, and then he has a good old wobble on the chair, doesn't he? And the other guys are losing it.
Yeah,
and he makes the sofa tip up. Yeah, Charles is going mental, and then he bites poor old delicious Windows on the head.
He goes to Windows. Windows blast him. He goes, not with your head. We didn't say that bit, but Windows has got the gun, but he just sort of like headbutts him.
Because they're flamethrowers simultaneously both fuck up, don't they?
Yeah.
And poor Windows gets bitten
Rebooted
to shit.
This is horrible with Windows because he gets sort of like flailed around, and obviously this is looks like a bloody dummy, but at the same time it's almost like it looks ridiculous, but at the same time it looks absolutely brutal. Yeah, it's almost like it's like a weird combination.
Thrashing around, isn't he? Like in the background, actually, while the other people are on the sofa still, like screaming to be let out, and you see him sort of thrashing around with Windows in his head, wobbling around like a rag doll. And then McCready gets his flamethrower working. It burns up what was Palmer, and he goes running out into the snow and collapses on fire. And he wangs a bit of dynamite after him, doesn't he? To blow him to bits.
Just to make sure. Have it.
Yeah.
This is horrible as well because
it's a good throw.
Because Windows is kind of sat on the floor, covered in all the raspberry jam, and what's happening there? Because when I first showed him, I was like,
"So he's turning into the thing; it's taking him over."
What was he doing? He was just looking at his hands, wasn't he?
I think because he was like still Windows, but
it's going to take over him very quickly, and it'll very
doing an update.
Because when he just burned him, like I was a bit like, "Oh no, don't burn him! He's all right." And you just saw his legs going. I mean, that was horrible.
Yeah, and he doesn't make the same noises as the thing, doesn't he? So I think
he kind of flails about a bit.
He sort of whimpers, doesn't he? Like he was definitely got, but I don't think he was really the thing yet.
Yeah.
He was probably a little bit, he was 50-50. As you say, Luke, the Windows update was in, so he was sort of. It was like
the Windows update was going on, and Mac was like, "Fuck this!"
He was like,
He doesn't have a good history with computers. Yeah.
Like so he was like, right. Yeah. He was like, "No, I'm not upgrading to Windows 10. Yeah, you cheeky bitch, burn."
Okay, so once that's done, Gary is like,
he does the last couple of tests, doesn't he? He tests Childs, and then he tests Gary last, as he promised. And then it turns out that Gary wasn't the thing after all. Yeah. And then we get the line of the film where he starts really calm and is like, "Gentlemen, as much as this has been a very trying experience, I would like to not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch."
Yeah.
It's weird. He's like, what is it? He's like tied to just like one cushion on the couch. And I just kept thinking, just get up.
And also, like that's had like
get up. He's like, bloody hell.
The chair's probably been broken from a thing breaking off it anyway. Like, but commitment to Gary, who I only realised on my watching today. They all refer to each other by their last name. I just thought they were more familiar with Gary, but it's his last name.
Yeah,
it's written on the
pen.
It's like Gary Smith Palmer. No, just everyone else last name, but Gary, he's kind of the leader. Everyone I imagine when they started on the first day, it was like, guys, no, Mr. Gary is my father's name. Just call me Gary.
Gary. Yeah.
Gary. Like Super Mario's real name.
So at this point, they decide to go get Blair, I think, who's still in the tool shed.
Yeah, they go and call in on him, don't they? Because they know right now that everyone who is with them is not the thing.
Yeah.
So they go and see Blair, and at this point, I think through one method or another, he is the thing now.
Yeah. Because he's like, squirreled a hole underneath the tool shed, and he's sort of making a spaceship from the wreckage of the helicopter.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I think the last time we saw him, because they called in on him one of the earlier scenes, and he's really calm at that point. I think he's the thing then, but now they actually go to get him, and you're right, because he's gone, and he's making little mini spaceship under the thing out of bits.
At that point, they were like, "So is he the thing?" Yeah, he's in the spaceship.
Are you the thing? Well, just building a spaceship over here. Again, it must. It's got some level of like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Because at that point, it's like, whoa. So they're like space engineers.
I can build a spaceship. What's that? Bit of wood.
Hang on. I can dig a secret base under my shack.
Yeah.
Like, let alone.
Yeah.
Like in like a massive ice tunnel. Let alone build a spaceship.
Well,
in the couple of hours that he's had.
iFixit.com, WikiHow even, and he's got the blueprints. What's the website called where you build your own projects? DIY.
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Yeah. He's got a mood board. He knows what he's going for.
Look, you're in like complete darkness now, and you look quite terrifying. All I can really see is teeth, and oh god, it's even worse. It's even worse. Why do you do that? It's a Luke thing.
Wow, that is dark. Yeah.
Jesus.
I'll do it with my mood. For the things that I'm really into, I'll sort of light up and get really into it. Yeah. Okay, so they go into the basement, into the hole underneath.
They find the spaceship, and then they've left Childs to guard that empty room that they're in, right?
And then Knowles also says, "I've just seen Childs out knocking out and about for some reason." He's like, "I thought the tunnel would stay together. Why was he outside?" I don't know. And we don't see Childs. And then they go back, and the power goes off now, doesn't it? So they realise that the thing has turned off the generator because now it knows it's got no way to escape. So what it wants to do is let these guys all freeze to death. It wants to chill out for a while. Yeah.
For never under 1,000 years.
Until the rescue team comes, and that'll be its chance to escape again. So
thing all over the.
It wants to freeze. So MacReady is having none of it, and he decides that okay, right, lads, let's blow everything up and we'll kill it. So they start by blowing up his spaceship, and toss some dynamite down there and wreck that, and then he sends everyone to set up the charges, and they're going to blow up the base. They find out the generator isn't just broken; it's gone.
And
then we see it all escalates to like a conclusion super quickly from this point, doesn't it? Because we see
Gary is gone to set the charge one place, Knowles has gone to set the place one place, Childs we don't know where he is, and MacReady is sorting out his detonation plunger stick. Gary gets Dr. Blair sticks his fingers through his skin. And then the next time we see him, when we see Dr. Blair walk past, his hand is like completely merged with Thingy's face.
Yeah, he's sort of absorbed him, hasn't he?
Yeah. I don't think we see what happens to Knowles.
No, he just sort of wanders off.
I'm lost. Where am I?
It's like, I'm in quite a dangerous situation. I'm just going to wander off into the dark. So I guess we're led to assume at this point that Knowles also gets got.
Maybe, or now he's the world's #1 Stevie Wonder tribute act. We just
he roller skates out of there.
Yeah, he's going to turn up in the sequel, The Ting.
See ya.
Yeah,
The Ting. Yeah, it's loose end. So then MacReady basically goes and sort of shouts after them, doesn't he? Like, "You're right down there," and he doesn't hear anyone. And then the thing does a tremors at him, like comes along and knocks the floorboards out the way.
Eats the
comes
detonator.
out and is massive. Yes, like slides off with a detonator, but it's all right because MacReady's got a plan. He gets the bit of dynamite that he's got with him.
This is the first time we see the big Lovecraftian monstery thing. With it's like a bit of everything now. It's got eyes blinking in its tits. It's got a sideways head.
Do you think that the thing gets its mass from the number of things it's absorbed? So I guess because it was already Blair and it got Gary, and we assume it got Null as well.
Yeah.
Has it been able to get to that size because it's got 3 people's or more people's worth of body mass to be able to
I think so.
get
I think it's all coming together like Play-Doh.
like a big Akira monster.
Yeah.
This is like proper something. I know obviously this came a long time before Resident Evil, but especially like the Resident Evil games, like the way the sort of biohazard, the bioorganisms used to just get bigger and bigger with each kind of time you fought them. It reminded me of that, definitely. So obviously it takes a lot from that, doesn't it?
They must have taken a lot of inspiration from the thing, I think. But MacReady is not inspired by this big monster, and he utters his classic catchphrase, "You cheeky bitch," and then he throws the dynamite, the last stick of dynamite, straight at him.
Yeah.
And the dog head that's come out of it has a chance for one little roar, and then it blows up and he sets off the rest of the charges, right? So he sets off it's like a chain reaction must go off, which is very lucky, and it blows up the entire base, all gone.
So then MacReady's chilling out, and then Childs turns up, and he goes, "Where were you?" And he goes,
"Went for a shit."
Yeah,
I don't know. And then they go, "What do you want to do?" And he goes, "Shall we just wait for a while?"
Because they sort of
each other. Let's hug for
they
warmth.
sort of they know it's like, oh, well, you've been on your own, you could be the thing as well. I don't trust you either. You could equally be the thing. So they said, well, fine then. It'll be warm here for a bit, but then it'll cool down once all these exploding fires go out.
There's like fires going on. I know it's a painful way to prove you're not a thing, but you could just put your hand in the fire, and then and then you've got the ice. Stick your hand straight back in the ice.
Yeah. You could even there's probably lots of sharp metal that you could cut yourself and just do a bit of blood in the fire as well.
Yeah, throw a bit of blood into the fire and see what happens.
Yeah.
But
they're both really tired. It's been a long day, so they just decide.
It's like they're absolutely knackered. It's like
been up all night, so they just sit there. We assume to just freeze to death, right?
I think they're going to play chess with their minds. Yeah, mind chess. Then it just sort of ends, and then we sort of end with the idea that we don't know who or what is the thing at this point. I've always thought MacReady was normal and Childs was a maybe, but I've seen theories now that say MacReady was the thing, and at the end, and Childs wasn't. Based on apparently there's a glint in his eye that's only everyone who's been the thing before has a glint in their eye, and it ends with MacReady having a glint in his eye.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never finished the Xbox game, but that I think it was slightly different to the comics that were brought out in the sort of late 80s as well. In the comics, I think MacReady turns up a lot more and is fine, but Childs eventually turns up later and is the thing. In the Xbox game, I never finished it, but I think I ended up reading what happened at the end. I know quite early on you find Childs' body frozen in the... he obviously died where he was sitting there.
Yeah.
And then I think MacReady comes and saves them at the end.
Oh.
So
okay.
I'd have to look up it, but they're not. Obviously, they're not. You wouldn't say it was properly, regardless of legal rights. There was never a follow up to the film, which I think I kind of like that you had left to sort of decide for yourself.
Me too, yeah. Okay, so I've got some trivia, and I think Andy's got some follow up trivia.
Got a little game for you.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do mine first then. So number one, we've already blown this one. I've got here. So we have a character called Mac. What other computer terminology-based character name appears in the film? We
Bloody
Windows.
Yeah.
And floppy disk.
Yeah. Number two, how old was effects artist Rob Bottin when they made the thing?
Oh, it's gonna be some filth in it. 25.
I'm gonna go 22.
It's exactly 22.
Oh,
Andy
boom.
is the thing this whole time.
Yeah. I knew his information.
There was a dog. We heard a dog barking earlier, and now it's quiet. Have you assimilated that dog? That's what's happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that picture. I think I'm gonna pick up one of the dogs and put it right next to my head for my picture for the screenshot.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Number three, how many inches did John Carpenter's hairline recede during the making of the thing?
2.
3 inches.
Well, no one knows the truth. But I put all of the inches, so you both get a point there.
Free pain, John.
Yeah, number 4. Which of these actors did JC think about asking to play MacReady before he asked Kurt Russell? So we've got A. Arnold Schwarzenegger, B. Christopher Walken, or C. Kurt Angle.
I'm going to say Christopher Walken.
Yeah, I'm going to go Christopher Walken as well.
It was Christopher Walken. It was also it could have been Jeff Bridges as well, but Kurt Russell got the part. I guess.
Can you imagine a Christopher Walken thing?
I think he'd do quite well. I think most things he's in, he does pretty good. But okay, last question from me. How many gunshots are in the film?
Oh,
there's loads when they're pumping.
Loads with a helicopter.
Loads for the helicopter. Loads when they're shooting the dog. 65.
100.
It was 52.
Oh,
yeah. So
trigger happy.
I think we all know who won that one, but we'll leave it on a cliffhanger. Won't tell the audience who was the winner there. Andy, do you want to do your quiz?
Right, I've got a little game for you guys. It's head to head. It's called, Thingo, because there are a lot of very similar people with, names that you might not keep track of in this film. So I've got a list of some characteristics of each of the characters.
Okay.
So the clues will make it easier each time. We'll do just the 3. If you get it right on the first clue, you get 5 points, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. You just get one go, then you're frozen out to the next one. So, right, we'll begin. I've got the first one.
Wait, we both start jumping. Are we buzzing in?
You can jump in, but you only get one guess on that clue. Okay, and then if you guess first and you're wrong, you're frozen out.
Okay.
Until the other person has a guess. Right. Yeah. Person number 1. This person is a man. That's your first clue. Any guesses, or let's move on? Do you want your maximum 5 points? You got to be bold.
I can't jump in yet.
Okay, right. Second clue. If you get it on this one, you'll get 4 points. This man has no beard.
Okay.
It
Gary.
is Gary.
Oh, come on, Earth.
There's only like 2 people without a beard.
What's wrong with you? You're a thing, aren't you?
Just to make sure there's no disparity, and I wasn't just making this up and picking favourites or for added drama. The following clues would have been: I would have next said he had grey hair, and then I would have said he had keys, and then the last clue would have been tied to this fucking couch.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keys.
Right. So. Let's have another one. Let's go with... Did on the previous page.
Is this like Guess Who?
Yeah, it is a bit like Guess Who. So, your 5 point clue. It's a man. If you're ready to move on, your 4 point clue is this man does have a beard.
Could be any number of them. Yeah. I don't want to guess yet.
Right, so for 3 points, this man is not the Thing at any point.
Dog handler dude. His name is...
His name is...
Clark.
Let me check my list. Clark is the dog handler dude, and that was the answer I was looking for.
Yeah!
3 points.
Dog handler dude!
Yeah, so the other clues would have been for 2 points. I was going to say that he was murdered, because he was.
Yeah.
Should have done it murdered in a Tiger accent.
Murdered.
He was murdered. And then for 1 point, it would have been that he loves dogs. Right, still all to play for with the last one then, guys. I'm going to open up the thing here. So, the last one, I've chosen one here. Right. Your 5 point clue. It is a man. For your 4 point clue, I would say he's a more husky gentleman than the others.
Dr. Blair.
No. Ben, do you want to guess before we move on to the next clue?
Give me the next clue.
Okay. Well, you can still go on this next clue, by the way.
Oh,
It's just
no.
Okay.
I should have guessed it, shouldn't I?
Okay, your 3-point clue. He is the Thing.
Vance, I think his name is the guy who has the heart attack.
Bennings.
No, it's not Bennings. I had that guy's name down. Maybe I've written down the actor's name. I've written him down as something else, not Vance. I've got him down as... I don't have a Vance written down, so I'm going to assume that I made a mistake with actors versus... I had him down as Norris, but yes, Luke, he is the man that had a heart attack.
Vance Norris. There we go.
Vance
Luke wins.
Okay.
I hope you're happy with yourself, Luke.
I was the Thing this whole time.
You were the Thing
this whole...
Yeah, so Luke, I'm not going to do the maths. You've won because you got 2 of them right, and some high scoring points there. But yeah,
be careful because Ben's going to say cheeky bitch and pour his whiskey on the
computer.
Oh
no, cheeky bitch, chuck whiskey as soon as you arrive at Ben's house this weekend.
I'm just going to pour whiskey all over my Mac. I'm angry. I'm just going to punish myself. You know?
Yeah, cheeky bitch.
So we need to rate the film before we close up. Who wants to give the raise first?
I'm not going to really say much more than I've already said before, and it's just one of these films that I could just watch over and over again, and no matter how many times I've seen it, it kind of like there's always something new to sort of witness and some new kind of theory that I kind of find myself thinking about. Yeah. And I think just in terms of mythology, like it's in a way it's great that there isn't too much to digest. I mean, I know there's a game, a couple of films, and like obviously book and stuff. Obviously it's not turned into a franchise as such, but it's very mysterious, and I kind of always feel like I want to pick away at it and find out more and more because it's pretty terrifying. But yeah, A+, come on, all day long.
Yeah.
Go on, Andy.
Yeah, I can't see anything else than an A+ either. It's one of my favourites. I did think about maybe I was the Thing all along. F. No, but no. Discriminates against my people, the Things. But no, absolutely A+. Like, there are elements in this film that have never, ever been surpassed. I think there's been fear and paranoia in other films, like The Faculty.
Yeah,
but,
The Faculty's got a bit of this.
It's always a lot more on the nose in the way it's played, a lot more in your face. You know, there are conversations about, I can't trust anyone because you could think, and it's so organic and so tense in the way it's done, and scenes like the blood tests and everything, the environment, and the fact that you're in a really isolated, unsurvivable location as well, just it really adds to it all.
I think
like
the soundtrack's great as well, like really like minimalist.
The soundtrack's good. The use of practical effects. I guess maybe this was one of the things that hurt it in the day. People wanted the new effects that were coming along, and the use of more. I guess 1984. There's not 1982. Rather, there's not that much around then. But I think with the way that films work now and how heavily it relies on CGI, even today, I think the practical effects still stand up really well, and I think there's a charm to them being so real and so and so visceral in the way that they are all put together. So I think it makes me enjoy the film more. And in many ways, aside from the little additions which kind of stand on their own, I'm really glad this hasn't become a franchise, because I think it gives the opportunity to ruin it. And I know you can always say, like, even if we'll use the Alien films as example again, if you're not a fan of those new ones, the old ones still exist. They haven't gone away, and it doesn't ruin your enjoyment of those. But I do think that it can take away your enjoyment of the franchise as a whole, because then there are things that are officially in canon that perhaps are making that thing you enjoy not quite so much. That mystery, and it
can feel like the mythology gets tarnished. I feel that some elements of the mythology that perhaps you enjoyed the most have kind of been tarnished because they've either been explained or they've been explored, and it kind of just feels like
Yeah, but even with this prequel to The Thing, I think everything that's been done alongside it has been separated enough to keep the sort of purity of, well, what was a remake in itself, right? But that original film as a single piece of work, I think it's still really standalone and is still one of my favourite horror films today.
Yeah, cool. So I won't add too much, but I just want to say, I agree, A+. I think there's, I think I said to you, Ben, a while back, so I love John Carpenter's films, but this film is even miles better than anything else he's ever done for me.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
it's like a bit of a kismet, the sort of alchemy of the location, Ennio Morricone's music, the Rob Boutini's creature effects have never been done in that same way in that setting. It's been ripped off in many ways in that sort of melting flesh sort of idea, but never quite like this, quite as visceral as this. All carefully steered by John Carpenter's sort of like incredibly sort of on point directing, which he sort of always has, really, especially this period of his career. So it's just a great sort of magic that sort of came together when they made this film. It's a shame they didn't sort of see that when the reviews didn't sort of see that when it first came out, but you know, it's pretty done better than, it's now stronger than it's ever been before. I think people love The Thing, evidently.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. So next week, are we going to go straight on with the next one on the list, Ben, or did you want to try something else? Or
well, maybe we'll discuss it in the next week or so.
okay.
Do I want to try something else? I mean, I'm always up for experimenting, Luke.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Depends what you're up for, you know.
Well, speaking about things, fingerings, we should. Well, I don't know. So the next one on the list is Scream. That's number 3, and we've got like the final 3 now. So I don't know if you want to calm it down a little bit and slow it and build up the tension. I don't know. Yeah.
What, just a bit foreplay?
Yeah. Next week is going to be an hour of groans and slippy noises.
Yeah. Oh God. But yeah, a quiz episode I think would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
If you want to do it, guys, you want to go head to head to see who is the biggest horror dude.
Yeah, I like the thought of that, and it can get quite competitive, so I like that. And Luke's already beaten me in one occasion tonight, and even though I might have seemed to have taken it graciously, I'm actually quite angry.
You're up for revenge, right? In that case, guys, if you want, I'll start working on it in the background.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, now.
Can't see your hands.
Start. Yeah, it's in my mind as we speak. But yeah, you'll start to get revising, and we'll get going.
Yeah, revising. Yeah. Okay.
I've got the same computer that Dr. Blair has, so I can just ask that question.
What is the answer to this question? 27,000 hours.
Yeah. Okay, so this show is brought to you by Hawk and Cleaver. Head over to hawkandcleaver.com. Go on Patreon over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Kalman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating and review in iTunes. And thanks to my co-host Ben for being a real horror dude. And thanks again for Andy for coming on 2 weeks in a row. Nice. John
Thanks,
Carpenter,
guys. Always a pleasure
Andy
to be here.
And a double bill.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, as always.
Cool. All right,
Thanks,
dude.
guys.
I need to get revising. I think I'm going to go assimilate a cheese cracker. So I'll see you. I'll see you in a bit.
Delicious.
Bye.
Bye.